We're here today in the cafe with the Church Council Chair, John Rigsby, and a member of our SLI team, Bill Benson, to have a conversation about where we are in the life of our church and to make a special announcement of something that's coming to move us forward. The SLI team, though, in effect, has kind of come to the end. Bill, you've been a faithful part of that for these 2.5 years. So we've ended the work as we've called it, an SLI team, and you are representing the group, going to be meeting with our other key leaders that have been meeting by Zoom every Wednesday night during the pandemic to become what's, in effect, a transition team to move from where we are to where we hope to be later in September and in October. So, to summarize, really, SLI, Spiritual Leadership, Inc., was all about us trying to think through who we are and how we best function with a mission, a vision, values that undergird us, and then some shifts that we're trying to adapt to. It's actually an adaptive leadership team that began to be the model for what we want our future governance structure to look like. Part of the conversation during the 2.5 years as we've thought about how to change the world and make disciples who bless others, belong in community, believe in Jesus, that's our mission statement, has been about how do we have the most effective and efficient governance structure. So here recently, we want to hear from you in a moment, we've had a development, a detailed, proposed, it's ready to go, kind of ready to bring to the council. So John, there's something special that we've got to do coming soon in order to keep this process moving to get to the fall when we want to have a church conference to make the decision. So
sure. So on August 10th, we're going to have our first and maybe only church council meeting of the year. And that'll be at 6:30 on Monday, August 10th by Zoom. We'll get you the details on how to log in. And we're going to do our normal church committee presentations where everyone will tell where trustees are at, what they've done so far this year, SPRC, things like that. But as we get towards the end of the meeting, we're also Bill is going to present and tell everyone how we're going to be moving toward the new board of stewards. And then at that time, the church council will vote on moving to John, remind me what it's called again?
We'll call it a simplified single board governance structure.
But that's right. And essentially it will be a vote among the entire church sometime in September, as long as church council approves that. So that's kind of the big announcement that we're going to move towards on the church council meeting on August 10th. And I do want to remind everyone that the entire church is invited to all church council meetings. So we would pleased to have you guys there for that.
So then the final vote to move in this direction with this board of stewards will take place at a to-be-named time in September, where the district superintendent will authorize this meeting of the entire congregation to vote on this. So what we're expecting to hear on August 10th at the council meeting is the presentation that Bill and the SLI team have been working on for so long. So Bill, why don't you give us a little overview of what we're going to be looking at?
Well, I thought a couple of things. Just the SLI team is kind of wrapping up, and people over time have kind of wondered, well, what in the world has SLI been doing all this time? So over the last 2.5 years, actually, what we've done is, in the very beginning, and actually this whole process took a year, but was to come up with the mission, vision, and value statements for the church. And believe it or not, there was a lot of discussion around that, and so we did come up with that, which really gives us a direction that we wanted to go into. A next big piece that we worked on for some period of time was coming up with the ministry action plan, or what we call today MAPS, which gives each ministry in the church an opportunity to look at what they're doing and how they're doing things, but also how their ministry aligns with our mission, visions, and value of the church. Then we looked at other things throughout the couple of years when things come up, like the place, we looked at it. You know, one thing we did, John, is we looked at every ministry in the church, and we've looked at those ministries and see how do those ministries fit in, basically in our bless, belong, and believe piece, and really kind of outline those and find out, well, do we have weaknesses or what did we have with that? But the last big piece, which we've spent a tremendous amount of time on, which I'm actually very proud of in the way that it came out and the collaboration of the people on the team, but also other members in the church that came around to help us put the guiding principles for our program together. It's called this Board of Stewards, which is a brand new way for us to manage, and more what we feel is a more efficient way to manage the church and make decisions looking forward as the direction we need to go. So we're going to bring that for our initial look. Will be at the Church Council meeting that we're going to be having in August to get their approval to let us to move forward and go forward with this as a new way to manage the church. So that's where we are in that. And as a member of the SLI team for the last 2.5 years, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, but all those Saturdays, I'm glad to get my Saturdays back.
So one reason we're having the meeting in August with the Church Council before we have the final church conference vote is so that our nominations process can begin to identify leaders, and that we'll identify leaders and begin the nominations process here soon, so that when we come to the church conference in September, we'll be ready to populate this new structure, assuming the church conference affirms it and moves us forward. We'll already have the leaders named and ready to go. So maybe any other questions, or just one more reiteration of our special meeting coming up in August?
Bill, just briefly describe what the change in the governments will look like in just a very quick snapshot of how that may look.
Well, in a quick snapshot right now, as we have, of course, within the church you have many different folks and ministries out there, but really and truly what it boils down to is we have 4 main groups within the church, or management teams, which would be finance, staff, parish, trustees, and we have nominations. And so with those is that looking at things is that there were multiple meetings happening amongst all of those groups many times to get one single thing accomplished. What we've seen in our studies from other churches that have done this is that with a more of a simplified, or what I want to call as a board of stewards, where all of those people are together in one meeting and can make decisions in one meeting, it really simplifies and makes things much smoother and faster as far as making changes. And quite honestly, within our church, all of us know that there are changes that we need to make, and we've all been working on them. John has preached faithfully on some of these things that are going on, and the reality of it is we just need to do this.
Much more efficient.
Much more efficient.
So,
yes.
and there'll be a streamlining so that the Board of Stewards is making the high-level directional decisions. Some of the tasks that currently are tackled by those existing administrative committees can be handed off to other task teams or ad hoc groups or short-term things. But the key decisions of moving this church forward in the direction God's calling us will be done by that Board of Stewards. So we think it will be effective, and it'll be much more efficient.
And we've certainly done a lot of different focus groups and even town hall meetings, so people can get a good vision of what this is. But I think we can expect a lot more detail on August 10th and during that Zoom meeting. And then from there we can move forward as long as Church Council approves to a church vote.
One thing I would like to say is that we are to a point that we have the guiding principles, which is the complete document as to how all of this will work, will be presented at the Church Council meeting. So those people that can vote at Church Council will get an opportunity to see the complete details of everything that's going to be going on. Yes.
Great.
Very good. Well, thanks, gentlemen, for being with us today in this conversation as we're moving our church forward in this crazy pandemic time.
That sounds great.
We'll look forward to seeing the Church Council meeting August 10th, 6:30 by Zoom.